Superhero movies are incredibly popular right now, and with the upcoming release of The Batman, it's plain to see DC is releasing some of the best. But these DC movies require a lot of CGI, so fans are curious, what do they look like before all those effects? What actually are those monsters the heroes fight? And one of the biggest questions fans have about the pre-CGI process, what happened to Superman's face in Justice League? You want to know the answers? Then keep watching to find out what DC movies look like before CGI. What are those huge set pieces really? Besides the hero, one of the things that draw people to DC are the spectacular set pieces. From the incredibly immense destruction of Metropolis in Man of Steel to the mind-bendingly amazing underwater fight scenes in Aquaman, these set pieces truly are a technical marvel. But what do all these amazing scenes look like before the CGI is added? Well, the answer may be disappointing if you were expecting these locales to be real, but still fascinating nonetheless. Almost none of the set pieces in the DC cinematic universe are filmed in real locations, so they're not filming Metropolis falling in an actual city or actually going underwater to show Aquaman fighting sea baddies. Instead, all these amazing fight scenes and confrontations are filmed on huge studio lots. But these studio sets are impressive and interesting in themselves. First of all, they're enormous. In behind-the-scenes footage, you can see that the green screen background almost wraps around the entire studio lot. And it's not just green screen either. The DC set pieces have a lot of foreground elements like buildings and other huge structures. A lot of these foreground props are built and look exactly like they do in the movie. This mostly includes the rooftops that Batman and the others jump between. Other parts of the foreground are made of huge green styrofoam structures. And let's just say it's not quite as cool to see Superman punch a green block rather than a brick building. How does Superman fly? Flight is without a doubt the most common superhero power, but the first guy you probably think of when imagining a hero soaring through the air is the one and only Superman. We can all just imagine the Man of Steel in his classic pose with one fist on his hip, the other pointed straight at the camera. But how do the DC movies bring that classic image to life? Truth is that it takes dozens of people to bring Superman to flight, because part of the effect is lifting Superman in the air with suspender cables. But that's far from the only thing needed. There's also a whole lighting crew to make sure that flight doesn't look wonky, as well as a crew that's only job is to hold a fan. The fan is the piece de la resistance that brings the whole effect together. Wouldn't be Superman flying without his cape and signature kiss curl hair blowing gently in the wind. That's of course if the production team decides to do all that on set. Sometimes the wind blowing effect is done in post, and other times the entire flying sequence is done in CGI without an actor at all. But when it is done practically, it's always strange to see behind the scenes footage of Superman suspended in the air, smiling, while a gaggle of stone-faced production crew surround him. Now it's time to find out the answer to one of the most famous CGI blunders in the DC cinematic universe. What was up with Superman's face in Justice League? Everyone was excited to see the return of Superman in Justice League after his death in Batman vs. Superman, but audience members were left with an uncanny feeling when the Man of Steel returned to the screen. There was just something wrong about Superman's face that theater goers were noticing. But what was it? Behind the scenes footage was actually released that revealed that Henry Cavill, the actor that currently plays Superman, had a big bushy mustache when shooting his scenes. Because of his lip caterpillar, VFX was used to make Superman clean shaven, and as a result gave him a wonky appearance in the film. Why did they go through all that trouble instead of just making Henry shave his mustache? Well, Henry was under contract from another studio that forced him to keep facial hair for a role, so his hands were tied. Contracts that require an actor to keep their facial hair are quite common in Hollywood, so next time you go to a DC picture, keep an eye out for a CG-looking face. Are the super suits real? By far one of the most recognizable aspects of a superhero is their costume. When you see a man with a red cape and an S on his chest, or a woman in armor holding a lasso, you know exactly who you're looking at. But how much CGI is used to make every aspect of superhero superhero movies. How much of this suit is even real? Well, these days, most of the costumes for the DC superheroes are real, but the DC roster has a few characters that have their costume almost entirely done in post. Most recent example of this is the character Cyborg. In the film, his costume is a constantly shifting metal body, but on set, the only physical aspect of his costume were two red lights, one of his chest and the other on his eye. Before CGI, Cyborg is only wearing a classic gray pajama motion capture suit. Probably the silliest example of a CGI supersuit on a DC character was from the 2011 Green Lantern movie, where the suit was entirely CGI without any physical aspect at all. So Ryan Reynolds was just walking around the set in gray pajamas. What are all those laser beams and explosions really? DC movies are spectacle events. They're filled with all sorts of explosions, destruction, and lasers. Vast amounts of chaos are depicted on screen, but as viewers, you might have one question on your mind. Is any of it real? Are Superman's eye lasers and Flash's friction lighting all done in post-production with CGI? The answer is yes. All the explosions and light shows are done in post with VFX, but what's interesting is watching behind-the-scenes footage scenes with high amounts of special effects. Because there are no real lasers or lighting on the set, the actors are forced to use their imaginations and pretend they have actual superpowers. Watching these scenes is exactly like watching kids play superheroes, except the kids are huge and wearing professionally crafted costumes. There are times when a special effect like a laser hits a character and the actor is actually hit with something physical. This can be seen comically on the behind the scenes of the fight scene between Superman and the Flash. A production member dressed head to toe in a green lycra suit walks into the scene and smacks the Flash with a green pillow. All the lasers and energy effects are done in post, but watching the pre-CGI footage can be just as entertaining in a completely different way. What actually are those big monsters Batman and the gang are fighting? Some of the best parts of the DC movies are all the huge monsters. From evil brutes like Steppenwolf and Doomsday to lovable monsters like King Shark and Killer Croc, DC creatures make for some fun entertainment. But what are they before the CGI makes them shine? Are they entirely done in CGI, or is there an actor who plays the creature on set? Well, the answer is that in order for the CGI animators to properly create a monster, they need an actor in mocap on set. Some of the best examples of actors mocapping monsters can be found in the recent The Suicide Squad. In order to bring the character of King Shark to life, King Shark is a giant shark man, to those who haven't seen the movie. His mocap actor had to wear a mock shark head made of wire. The mock head wasn't nearly as frightening or adorable as the theatrical version of King Shark, but was needed as reference for the animators. Wait, Superman's cape isn't real? The most iconic part of the classic superhero look is the cape. Yes, not all heroes wear capes, but the ones that do are known for it. Superman wouldn't be Superman without his signature red cape. Batman wouldn't be Batman without his cape that makes him glide like the creature of his namesake. What if I told you that there aren't actually any real capes on the sets of the DC movies? Yep, that's right. Just take a look at the behind the scenes of Justice League and Batman vs. Superman, and you'll see that the heroes aren't wearing capes. Why? It's because in real life, capes don't regally flow behind superheroes like they do in the comics. They flap around wildly and ruin shots. To solve this, the capes are added completely in post to make sure they look exactly like they do in the comics. Next time you go to a DC movie, pay attention to Batman's cape and see if you can tell it's fake. Well, there you go. Those were some of the most interesting examples of what DC movies look like before CGI. What'd you think of these examples? Did you notice Superman's weird face in Justice League? What about the fake capes? Leave a comment below and tell us what you thought. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.